The 2014 primary is now 6 days away, and one of the most watched races in our area is the one for Indiana State Senate District 15. All week here on First News, we are interviewing the 4 Republican candidates and 1 Democratic candidate.
Monday and Tuesday, we spoke with Republicans Darren Vogt and Jeff Snyder. Today, News Channel 15's Rod Hissong is live in Studio 15 with our 3rd candidate. Rod?
Thanks. Good morning, Pat and Tara. Good morning, everyone. We're joined this morning by Republican candidate Liz Brown. You may know her. She's a former Fort Wayne City Councilwoman from just a few years back. Liz, thanks for taking some time out of the campaign and coming in early this morning to talk with us. I want to start talking first about education. It's been in the news a lot the last week and a half here in Indiana with Common Core kind of going away and a new set of standards. Initially, you were opposed to Common Core. These new standards that have been passed now, what are your thoughts on those standards?
Well, I think the constituents still have some concerns, but they were certainly, we had a Republican dinner last night. We were all wearing our Stop Common Core buttons, so that was a good thing, I think, that we did that. I think everyone was very concerned. I've gone to those forums, and there is some concern that if it's just repackaged and under another label. So I'll have to wait and see. I haven't seen the standards yet, but there's still a lot of issues facing education in this state and certainly in this community.
With No Child Left Behind, after that got going for a couple of years, a lot of states started to say, hey, we would like the federal government out of our classrooms. Now it would appear that a lot of local school districts are saying they want the state out of their classrooms. They want some more local control back. Do you think that's something you could support, giving the local communities a little bit more say in their education standards?
I think teachers are very concerned about all of the testing, really, that's going on. And I think that's a concern in terms of the state's intervention in the classrooms. But I think it's important for the state to make sure that our graduates are actually graduating with the degrees we say they have, whether it's from high schools and up through colleges. So there is always going to be some intervention. There are a lot of dollars. It's almost 60% of our budget if you count higher ed of the state's budget. So we have a very important impact on it.
And speaking of budget, there is a funding inequality with a lot of school districts. Fort Wayne is one. Compare it to IPS, similar sizes, and there's a several $100 million difference. What do you need to do if you get to Indianapolis to change that?
Well, you have to look first at the budget and see how the money is being allocated. Are we overspending at IPS or are we underspending here? And look at how those dollars are being spent. That would be the first thing. But you certainly want to make sure that, I would certainly want to make sure as our Northeast Indiana representative here for this state Senate district that I am the one making sure we are not being overlooked down there.
Transportation is one thing that is one of your campaign issues, and infrastructure. Last year, legislators passed for a rail system in central Indiana. We know there's been talks here in Fort Wayne about HighSpeed Rail, and City Council with a proposal to use some money to study that. What would you do if you got to Indianapolis? Well, first, do you even support the project here in Fort Wayne or in our area, and what would you do from Indianapolis to help with that?
HighSpeed Rail is a very long-term project, and it is billions of dollars, which is not something this state is going to do. That's something that they've looked at the federal level. I think right now what's more important for us here in Northeast Indiana is our infrastructure in terms of roads. Not just locally after this winter, we've had some tough road conditions, but also in terms of moving our commerce that we have. We're a heavy manufacturing industry, and we need to make sure that we have that infrastructure in place. So anything I could do to support that, I would be definitely proposing.
I want to talk about your ad that's been running on television. It's also on your website. The very beginning of the ad, the narrator mentions candidates that are running over and over again and running for the same office. Some would say that you are a career candidate with the offices that you've run for. This will now be your 5th office that you've attempted to seek in the last 8 years. Are you a career candidate, and how is that different than being someone who's called a career politician?
Well, you know, we were talking earlier, you've had different jobs, and when you run for political office, if you want to serve the public, you have to run for that office. You have to apply. It's a very public job interview, and I think that with my educational background, I have a law degree. I'm now an adjunct professor at St. Francis, and I've been a substitute teacher. I'm now a mediator, certified as a mediator. I've served on city council. I've written legislation. I've been in charge of the budget. That gives me a wide breadth of skills which are necessary to take to the State House. So as I've gone through life, as you know, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time with our 7 children, but as I've gone through and I've added these skills, you start to look for job opportunities, and I was looking for a job opportunity in the public sector. And so when you go out and apply for those jobs, it's very public. But I'm very proud that I've had that opportunity to apply for those jobs, and I've not always been successful, but I don't I'm not at all embarrassed about that. It's a tough thing to do, and I applaud anybody who puts their name in the hat because, you know, sometimes you don't win, you don't, and that's tough to take. If you lose a job, just you and maybe your wife know about it, but no, so I don't think that's what it is at all.
Okay, you've also signed a pledge for term limits. How many are you going to run for? And
2 terms.
And why would you make that commitment?
You know, that's what I have seen. People are tired of people who go down to, whether it's Indianapolis or go out to D.C., and they stay there, and after a while they get a little bit jaundiced, if you will, and they're just sort of taken in by going along to get along, and that's not my style. I'm down there to do a job, and I'm going to do the job, work hard, and make sure I'm a fiscal hawk in terms of our budgets, and make sure that we have a great education system, the best in the country, that our state's leading in that area, and economic development and all those kinds of things. But I'm not interested in just staying down there and filling a seat. So.
All right. Liz Brown, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. Best of luck over the next few days. Voting on Tuesday, of course. Our interview series continues tomorrow morning when we'll speak with Republican Ken Freese. Democrat Jack Morris joined us on Friday, as mentioned, Darren, and Jeff Snyder joined us earlier in the week. Pat?